Coinbase's CEO Brian Armstrong in the last hour. It was a first on CNBC following the SEC decision. And we want to show you just a piece of it for now, because I asked him about the way he sees this in terms of the magnitude of the moment.
This is a monumental step for the crypto industry and for Coinbase too. And the reason is that, look, there's 52 million Americans who have been using crypto over the past decade. And I think they've been hungry for some kind of acknowledgement from government and the SEC in particular that this asset class is here to stay. And they finally got that. It took a long time. I want to give a big shout out to Grayscale, which was one of the firms that pursued this in the court to finally get it to fruition. But it finally happened. We had a number of ETFs approved today. And of course, it was a big day for Coinbase too, because we were named as the custodian in 10 out of 13 of these applications. So I think this means that over time, we'll see new pools of capital come into Bitcoin. But more importantly, we had a huge regulatory milestone that showed the legitimizing power of this industry.
And so now the big question is whether Brian's right, whether this turns into a broader path, meaning folks get involved in Bitcoin through an ETF and then ultimately get involved in Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies writ large. And that's what he is effectively betting on at this point.
You know, there was kind of a school of thought, Andrew, with regards to Coinbase, that an Bitcoin ETF may not be the best for them, just kind of disperses investors. But the stock, as I'm looking right now, Coinbase is up 4.5% after hours. So you're looking at sort of what does this mean for the big players like the stocks, and the market maybe saying not too bad.
Well, I think there's a couple of sort of cross currents that are happening here, right? It's a fascinating dynamic. There's the custodial business that he's going to be getting out of this, which helps him. And there's this larger question of, do people just get more involved in crypto writ large? If that's the case and they actually buy the underlying assets themselves, Coinbase becomes a very big winner. If, in fact, you think that folks who used to use Coinbase to get access to Bitcoin decide, you know what, I'm just going to use Fidelity, and Fidelity is going to be their own custodian, by the way, and I'm just going to go through them, well, then this is actually bad for Coinbase, because you wouldn't need to go get yourself a Coinbase account to get access to it. His bet, of course, and I think the way the market's thinking is that more people that just get involved in crypto in any way ultimately inures to the benefit of a Coinbase.
Yeah, and maybe the people that are with Coinbase, I hate to call them early adopters, because you know, and I know, and a lot of our viewers know, Bitcoin is not new at this point. Bitcoin's been around for more than a decade, and so people, they've got their trusted thing. Maybe the newbies will come in. But Andrew, what do you think about Wall Street writ large? The JP Morgans, I mean, Jamie Dimon has bashed Bitcoin at nearly every chance he can. Now they're kind of getting into the game. Where do you see the Morgan Stanleys, the JPMs, the Goldmans? What's their role in all of this?
Look, I think they'll all be playing to the extent you believe that crypto not only is here to stay, but becomes a major asset class. Right now we're talking $900 billion, trillion dollar market cap, if you will. If you think this grows exponentially, Wall Street is going to follow the money, as Wall Street always does. If in fact you think this is a niche business, and I would argue it's already reached escape velocity, then you could argue that maybe Wall Street doesn't pay too much attention to it. But there's lots of different commodities, obviously, some smaller and some bigger than others, that various Wall Street players play in, and others that they don't. I think that's what you're going to see with crypto. And of course, the big question, as you were just discussing with Kate Rooney, is what comes next? Is Ethereum the next one? How many lawsuits are going to happen before the SEC gets behind an Ethereum ETF? I think you're going to see a series of lawsuits. In fact, because when you really do read through the ruling today, it was, as Brian Armstrong said in our interview, and we'll show more of that tomorrow on Squawk, that it was a begrudging decision. And this was not, left to their own devices. Yeah. I'm not sure this is the outcome that Gary Gensler would have had.
And it's been a fight for a while. I did a fireside chat in 2019 with SEC Commissioner Hester Peirce, and she was advocating for it back then. That was not quite 4 years ago. And Andrew, I don't want to oversell this, I guess, because I know you guys have a huge show tomorrow morning on it, by the way. But I kind of feel like this is crypto's coming out party in a weird way, because kind of like sports betting getting legalized or something like that.
Right.
Once the Bitcoin ETF is approved, as it was today, and Fidelity is now in the game, I think the crypto doubters might have to go find something else to doubt.
I think it's going to be very hard to doubt crypto. Now, whether crypto has to become $100,000, whether Bitcoin goes to $100,000
Yeah, totally
or
different, totally different
Catherine
thing,
Wood
right?
says, or
Totally
something
different.
else. Different question. But I think by all means, crypto is now going to be part of the larger conversation. Hard to imagine it isn't.
And I think
This
Gensler's...
will be an historic day in that regard.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm not saying it's the golden spike for the railroads or something like that, Andrew, but this puts it there where people who are a little bit intimidated by crypto, maybe they don't understand crypto. In fact, I have a poll that I did on X, Andrew, and I'm going to show you the results of it, and I'll get your comment if you have one as well, but it kind of goes to the point. And I basically just asked our viewers out there, or my followers on X, kind of like, where is your interest in Bitcoin, right? And I basically said, I love it, own it, right? I'm skeptical but interested, or I would not touch it, okay? So I gave people 3 options: like it / own it, need to learn more, wouldn't touch it. Here are the results. 37% love it and or own it. About half, a little more than half, said they wouldn't touch it, but 11% said need to learn more. And I bring this up, Andrew, because I do wonder, kind of like certain cars or whatever they may be, I wonder how much more interest there is just because Fidelity is going to start selling a Bitcoin ETF.
Well, look, and that's good. The next leg of this is all of these companies are going to be promoting it. You're going to, I imagine, you'll see advertising on CNBC and in the Wall Street Journal and in all sorts of publications as people are trying to sell these ETFs, physically sell the ETFs. And so there's going to be more money poured into trying to educate, some people would argue, promote these things. There'll be skeptics and naysayers, I imagine, as well. But nonetheless, there's just going to be more energy and more money focused on this.
Yeah.
And that would lead to probably more interest. We'll see.
Well, yeah, now that it's an ETF, if you want to own it, it's a little bit easier. If you don't want to own it, it's just like any other ETF, right? Don't own it. If you don't want to own tech, don't own it. Andrew Ross Sorkin, I know you got to get up for work in like 4 hours, so we're going to let you go. Andrew, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, programming note, you can catch the full interview with Brian Armstrong. That, of course, tomorrow on Squawk Box, but he's not the only one that's going to be on the program. You got Anthony Pomp, you got Michael Schonenstein, you got Kathy Wood of ARC, and Michael Novogratz as well. Big lineup, Squawk Box tomorrow morning as well. All right, let's take a look at what happened to your money in the stock market today. It was a pretty good day, not a great day, but green across the board. Dow up 0.5%, S&P a little bit more, NASDAQ up 0.75%. On to your stud and dud of the day, the big winner, Intuitive Surgical, the robotic surgery maker, up 10.3%. More people are letting Intuitive's robots perform. I hope they're letting them. What if they weren't letting them and the robots are still doing the surgery? That's a movie. All right, Quest Diagnostics, that was your dud of the day, down 3.5%.